Hi, all things clinical research community. My name is Tunakato Moshe. Welcome to our second episode of All Things Clinical Research, your premier destination for all mentoring, development, as well as growth. On today's episode, we have a very phenomenal woman, a remarkable woman. She is a senior statistical programmer in the clinical research organization. She has her qualifications in applied mathematics. She is a maths genius. She does numbers all the way. Her name is Lebu Madela. How are you, Lebu?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lebu. It is so good to have you. I am good. Hey, I'm very excited to have you here.
It's good to
Finally, we finally have you. We've been wanting to interview you. Hi, Obizi Osaka. You're so busy. You are here now. How are you feeling though?
I'm fine. Yeah.
And how's work?
Your work is stressful at the moment.
But you do have those times where it's not that stressful, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a touch and go,
It's a touch and go
situation.
Yeah. Right,
vibes,
exactly.
Yeah.
But you enjoy it, right? I know that.
I love it.
I know. Okay, before we go anywhere, I'm just gonna give me a fun fact about you.
A fun fact?
Yes.
Ooh. Yo, I don't know.
Difficult one.
It's very difficult.
Okay, let's all right.
But I think a fun fact about me is that I'm quite creative.
Yeah.
I think I'm very creative.
I agree.
Yeah. In terms of painting as well, in terms of having an eye for something creative and what I can do, and I think it's a fun fact about me.
And you have such wisdom, hey? God fearing.
Amen.
Yes. Okay. So the other sort of like icebreaker that I want to ask you, like, what has been your goals for the year? Like, what's on your bucket list that you feel we are on the 4th month of the year, right? That you feel like so far, you know what, I have achieved this goal, or I'm halfway to get into this goal. What is it that you can tell us? You know,
I think this year my life was not that interesting on my bucket list, if I can put it in that way. The one goal I had was to relocate. And I am literally, let's say, 80.7%
And you're feeling good about it, right?
Yeah, I'm excited, but it's a daunting feeling at the same time. Because you are literally leaving everything and everyone
behind.
Yeah, that you have known your entire life. Okay, but then I'm not moving that far, but it's still like, okay, now I have to start over in a whole different province. And it's far and all of that. Yeah, so that has been my main goal this year. And it's happening.
But you're not a person that's very comfortable. That's one thing I've noticed from you. You're about change. You like innovation. You don't want to be at one place for a long time. So as much as I think it's nerve-wracking, but I think it goes with your character as well, that starting something new over and over, it's exciting for you, right?
Yeah, I think it goes with my personality.
Your personality per se.
I've got quite a spontaneous personality. So everything is okay, we're here now with that. That's why it's difficult for me to identify, or rather to put a lot of things in a bucket list, because I change over and over again. But then this one I knew, like, it's one of the biggest.
So you're very impulsive.
Well,
they say so. You don't know about it. Okay, Lebu, moving right along. I have a few questions that I just want to know. What are the key values that shaped you, that made you who you are, the person that you are today? That can be through upbringing. That can be the people you met along the way, the people that actually influenced who Lebu is today.
Yeah, I think one of the key values that made me who I am today and get to where I am in life right now is discipline and resilience, as well as persistence.
Wow.
I wouldn't say that I had everything that I needed but at least I managed to master the art of using what I have in that moment to get what I want. And that requires discipline. It requires persistence. It requires resilience as well. Because along the way, you find yourself fighting against the current. You find yourself fighting against the circumstances. So that sort of pushes you to be resilient. So those are the values that I think have gotten me to where I am right now.
And also I'd like to believe that you also give all the credit also to your walk with Christ. Because I know you as this person that is very resilient when it comes to your faith in Christ and serving God.
Yes. So I think those values as well. They cater to my walk.
Exactly.
With Christ.
Wow.
As well.
In terms of discipline, in terms of
discipline,
who you are, how you carry yourself.
Yes, and being persistent. And being resilient, because sometimes you get to situations that are so difficult that everyone else around you probes you to think about the reality. Like, hey, Mona, look at the reality, But now the persistent self that is in you, you're just like, hey, bruh, I'm not gonna go with what the reality says, because after all, my reality is different. It's more based on my faith, and so I think those values, if I didn't have them, probably I would have crumbled along the way. I would have, I wouldn't still be in my faith right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me, so growing up, right, considering where you are right now, what you've accomplished, and how you've been all your life, what is it that label always wanted to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a lot of things, I think that now brings me back to my personality. Or I don't know, but I wanted to be a lot of things. So every grade or year or phase that I got to, I would be like, man, maybe I should be an astronaut, or maybe this is what I want to be, So over time, it has evolved. I didn't have one specific thing that I wanted to be growing up. I think at some point I even wanted to be a pilot at Air Force. I think this was now in high school. In high school, I remember, like, when I was doing grade 10, the one thing that I wanted to do is to pass grade 10, get to grade 11, so that I can use my grade 11 marks to apply in the Navy, not Navy, but Air Force. For their pilot thing, because they said they needed grade 11 marks and stuff.
I remember that.
So it evolved over time, changed a lot of times depending on where I was, what appealed to me then, and all of that. But the one thing that I can say is that nearing the end of my high school journey, I was so sure that I'm called to be a teacher. I was convinced. I was like, I have to be a teacher.
You have to do this.
I'm like, this is what I'm called to do.
So, considering the fact that you felt like you were called to be a teacher, did you get an opportunity to be a teacher now that you're a statistical programmer?
Yes, I think that helped me a lot. I was not listening to anyone saying whatever. I was like, hey guys, I'm called to be a teacher, and I'm going to be a teacher. So I did have an opportunity to be a teacher. At some point, I was teaching high school. Yes, grade 10s, grade 11s. So for a year and 6 months.
So this happened after you completed your qualifications?
Yes, after I completed the qualification, I worked as a lab assistant, but in a school. I was based in a school.
Oh, nice.
But that didn't last long, maybe 2 months, and then after that, I jumped into teaching. And then I started teaching for a year, 6 months.
And you taught maths, I believe.
And maths literacy. And then before I knew it, I was like, this is not for me. I then saw that, this is not for me. It was just, I thought teaching was all about imparting knowledge.
So now that you mentioned, it takes a lot from you, and you've just highlighted a part of your career. So as we move forward into the same thing, like, how did you get into clinical research, and what made you feel like this is the right decision to make because you started teaching and you knew in your heart you always wanted to be a teacher, but all of a sudden your interests change and you find yourself in a clinical. Did you know always that? Did you always knew that clinical research existed, or is it something that you learned along the way?
I didn't know that there was such a thing.
Yeah.
So I sort of stumbled across it. Yes, I think, God orchestrates our lives in a way that we never even anticipate, So after quitting teaching, because I quit and I didn't have a job.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I know this is not for me.
Yeah.
So I laid everything down and then I started applying.
You laid everything down?
Yeah, then I applied for any and everything. Except that because I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But just one random time I received an email and it had some tests to do.
Sure.
So I started asking around, what's this company? I don't even know them.
So you didn't apply for this company?
I don't remember myself.
Oh, you don't know what really happened?
I don't know.
Life happens.
I didn't know that we have such.
Yeah.
And then I asked around and then they told me oh no, it's this company. I was like, okay. I remember them coming at the career exhibition, but I don't know what did entail. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's how I ended up there.
Yeah. And considering the fact that a lot of people don't know we have so many opportunities within the research company, the clinical research, and would you say it was the best decision that you made? Because in most cases we come from school, and as we come from varsity, we don't even know what we're gonna do and how much are we also supposed to be earning. And considering that the industry, if like myself, if I don't know anything about money, I was very excited the first time. I was like, oh, so there are people that pay like this, But how did you navigate from teaching to get into an industry and you're like, man, this industry is not just good in terms of the way it is, but this industry is also good in terms of money. We work for money at the end of the day. You understand?
Yeah.
So how did you navigate around the industry and finding your feet and realizing that this is where I want to be?
Okay. Believe it or not, when I got the offer letter, I was like, I've got no idea what these people took me. I don't know why they decided to give me this offer.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that I know is that I'm going to give them the reason.
Wow.
To be glad that
they made an offer to you.
Offer. They extended the offer to me. So firstly, there was a lot of medical terms.
Right.
So I was just like, oh my goodness. So the one thing that I found myself doing at that time was I invested a lot in learning, especially the medicine side.
The medical terms. Those terms.
The industry terms.
Everything.
Abbreviations and all of that. So I invested a lot of time in learning at the beginning. You can almost say I obsessed over the fact of, yes, I need to learn this thing. I need to know
Wow.
And well, it was shocking. The offer that they extended is shocking.
It's shocking the first time around. Yes.
It's like, okay, it's more than what I was earning as a teacher.
Way more than it.
Wait. Way more.
Yeah, but it was way better than as a teacher, right?
Yes. So all of that, I think everything took grounding for me.
Wow.
Because I had to remain grounded throughout the whole experience. Because it's just like, okay, there's a lot of money, there's excitement in what you do as well. Like the minute you realize how important this role is, it also brings you a little bit of excitement. Yes. So out or through all of that, I think the best strategy that I used was to remain grounded.
Wow. So being grounded is the goal.
Yeah,
is the main thing actually.
So that investment that I did at the beginning of the thing made it easy for me to move from one road to the next, one to the next. Yeah.
You know, I was listening to one of these podcasts about development and personal development. Somebody said, I can't remember who it was, but she said one of the things as she was growing in her career, she wanted to learn the art of winning over and over, you know, not to get excited with your first win and then get stuck there, but to learn to win over and over. Because often once we get into, let's say, in an industry, we tend to be comfortable. But this industry doesn't allow you to sit and reflect. It allows you're on the move, like you're on the move from time to time. You know, it allows you to grow to a point that you desire. That's what I believe, basically. Wow. So I like the fact that you said being grounded and knowing, you know, why you're there in the first place. Wow. All right. So now that we know that Levi is a statistical programmer, take us to a day in your work life. What do you do from day to day?
It's a very it can be chaotic sometimes, but no day is exactly the same as the other. But pretty much, so I wake up, log in and start programming.
You wake up, you log in and you start programming. Because we are remote, we work from home, so your work is in your house.
Just here. And I think, I'm gonna try to maybe outline it in a perfect case scenario of some sort.
Please.
So what basically happens is that we work closely with the biostatisticians. So they are the ones who work with the protocol, design the statistical analysis plan, which is what we use. And then from that, they create what we call the mock shells. And there are specifications that guide us. So with that documentation, my duty is to make sure that I write code that does all of those things that they want. Maybe they want a graph. So I need to write the code a code such that when they run it, then it's able to produce what they are looking for at the end of the day. So, and it can be anything, like a table, it can be a graph, it can be a list, it can be any form of output that they want. It can be a data set. So I've got a documentation that sort of guides me through it. So there's a lot of reading that needs to happen. There's a lot of planning that goes into your programming, because you can't just find something and immediately just program. You know,
exactly.
Along the way you're gonna get stuck and it's gonna be a problem. But you need to get a problem, think thoroughly about how you're going to execute or how you're going to write your program, and then you write it. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into that, because also when you write the code, you need to remember that someone else might carry it over. So it needs to be simple so that the next person might be able to understand it. It needs to be commented so that the next person might be able to take it over and understand it. And it needs to be dynamic in such a way that if we get new data, it does not break. So that's basically what I do every single day. Program. Get the documentation, program, send it out. So there's like deadlines, you get tasks that are specifically assigned to you. So that's basically what happens.
What you do. So now that you mentioned that you work closely with the biostatistician, I have a background of data management, and I worked closely as well with statistical programmers. So somebody who doesn't know what's happening in our industry would think, but I want to do data management, and I've heard that statistical programmers also play part, you know, but how do you bring it home, you know, make it easier for them so that they understand that, okay, if you're a clinical data manager, clinical data coordinator, this is what you're going to do, how you're going to work with me as Levi, as a statistical programmer.
Oh, perfect. So as what happens is that we work with data.
So
data, we work with it from the raw state of it.
Yeah.
So this is what we get from the data managers. They give us the raw cut of the information that we need, or the data sets that we need. And then from that, we will standardize it, like using the CDISC standards, all of that.
Yeah.
We'll standardize it, clean it, make it analyzable in a way, right? But now the thing is, you'd find out some way or somehow there's an information that doesn't necessarily make sense from the raw data. So that information, you need to convey it back to data managers. They will take it, I don't know where, maybe to the side or whatever, and then they will fix it, and then they will get back to you and tell you that, okay, this is fixed or it's updated. And you take it again. From there, you work. If there's anything that also comes along the way, you go back to them, but only if it is related to what we call raw data. Wow. So hand in hand, we work hand in hand with data management, but specifically about the data that we use.
Yes, exactly. Awesome. I'm sure like most of our viewers, especially those that are interested in data management, they already know that you have terms like your CDISC, your C-dash. So it is your responsibility to go look up those terms, learn what the terms are about, so that in the next round of your interview, you already know what you're talking about when you mention those terms. Yes. So Lebu, it's very interesting. It's just so nice to learn the language that we use in the industry, because every time you hear people talking, you're like, so wow, so this is what I do every day, actually, like So now, as a statistical programmer, what education background? I know you already mentioned that you have applied mathematics. For somebody who says, I want to be a statistical programmer, do I need to study stats? Or do I need to study IT? Do I need to study, because programming, there's something programming with computer. There is also something with statistics. Do I need statistics? It's a bit, So what would you say they are, like what to study, for them to be able to enter the clinical research industry?
Okay, if maybe one is interested in being a statistical programmer, there's a lot that can get you there. A lot of courses that can get you there. But specifically, they need to be qualitative courses. So like your IT as well, your maths, stats, your financial maths, your mathematics, but anything that has usually they classify them under the quantitative,
quantitative. I get you.
The quantitative courses. That, and then but those courses, you need to have done programming for at least 2 or 3 years.
I get
during
you.
your studies.
Because you guys do like your RIS along, which is the computer courses in mathematics, applied mathematics.
We had those.
Those
courses. We had MATLAB.
Yes,
that was focused on computing and programming and coding. So you need to have done that at least for 2 years in your degree, 2 or 3 years in your degree, and then you need, like I said, it needs to be
the quantitative
mathematics or whatever. Yes. So those are primarily the two things that they are looking for. Are you able to think analytically?
Sure.
Are you able to solve problems? Are you able to code?
Yes.
And in most cases, the courses that are maths based, they train you in a way of thinking analytically and also thinking from a perspective of problem solving.
Yes. Wow. So, and you get most of the interview questions would be like your problem solving questions, so everybody, like nobody wants to hire somebody who can't solve a problem, especially with programming. I mean, you can't be hired, the next thing you're like, so how does an Excel work? So it's very important to equip yourself in that area of Excel. It's very important to equip yourself in how the computer works, right?
And then be able to at least know one programming language.
one programming language. Talking about programming language, yeah, what are the programming languages and tools that you guys primarily use?
Predominantly, we use what we call statistical analysis software.
Yes.
So that's what we are basically using now in the industry. But there's what we also call R programming.
Yeah.
So it has also entered the space of statistical programming.
Yeah.
And I think over the years, that's where we might end up using the R programming. Yeah, but personally, me, in my function where I'm working right now, I'm using SES, which is
yes, exactly. All right. Now that we're working in such a setup and environment, what does collaboration do for you with other team members as a statistical programmer? How does it help you?
I think that's a backbone of what we do.
Right.
Yeah, without it, whatever we do will just collapse.
Right.
Because remember, I highlighted the fact that we work closely with the DM, data management, as well as the biostatistician. That's the start of collaboration. But secondly, within a team, we work together. So what happens is that you work in pairs. And that speaks to, or rather, it stands on solidifying our quality, the quality we produce. So you work in pairs on one thing, work together. So without collaboration, that's not going to work. That teamwork thing is definitely not going to work. And when you work as in one project, it's a lot of you as a team in that particular thing. So other people will be in charge with this, others with that, and others with that. So without collaboration, that dismantles everything. Oh, goodness. So collaboration is everything. It's everything. I don't know where to start to say how it benefits or where it works. It's
open for discussion. And talking about that, how has that, the industry is not an easy industry. Like, you need a lot of, you need to be authentic. You need to have a backbone. You need to not take more than you ought to. You also need to give your A game, like we mentioned before. You also have to, you cannot be the one who's always making errors. We do make errors, but errors are like a thing of, it's not as like, we don't need that in our kind of like work, So how do you separate, let's say for instance, I send you an email as a biostatistician and I'm not happy and I escalate other people within the team. And so how do you separate? Because as somebody, you would take it, why they are taking me all of a sudden, and this is kind of like not necessary, but it is necessary for the work we do, right? Remember the client first, right? So now how as a label do you separate your emotion from your work,
I don't know, but my answer will start from, or rather stem from how fortunate I've been. I think God has really, held the fort for me since I have gotten in the industry. One, I haven't usually found myself or found myself at that part where okay, sharp, here's what's happening or whatever. But I have, as a leader or the programming team lead, have missed certain things. Like maybe a client comes back and they're like, hey dude, you missed this, or this does not really make sense. And like in moments like that, I usually don't take it. Maybe it's because I know that there's a lot. There's a lot that I can do. There's a lot that I can offer. So I don't usually find myself, But sometimes you find out that I am, like personally, there's something that's going on in my life, and I struggle to concentrate. So God has given me or blessed me with leaders or managers that are very understanding, that I'm able to tell them that, listen, I can't focus or can't concentrate. Can I take some time off? And they're like, yeah, sure, you can take some time off. So I'm able to tell, like if I really struggle to concentrate with something, then I'm just like, no, can I please take some time off? And I take it off. But I haven't found myself being necessarily attacked or being in conflict of some sort.
Nice.
I think that's a blessing.
Yeah,
so far.
it is, right? It is. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I believe like a good environment helps you to produce good results. So whoever that you work with, I've also been very fortunate to find good managers, people that always support me, people that even when I have issues at work, be it with maybe a client, or I'm able to come and say this is the situation, and they're able to intervene, Yeah, exactly. So I've noticed that a lot in our working environment, in our field, that the truth is our managers always stand up for us,
Yeah.
Exactly. So in closing, oh my gosh, I can't believe we have reached the end of this. But in closing, what advice would you as Lebu say to somebody aspiring to become a statistical programmer to actually take from you? Yeah.
Who's aspiring?
Yeah. Maybe this person is still in high school.
Study maths and applied maths. Maths and statistics.
Yeah.
Computer science.
Yeah.
Something,
Yeah, do something with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I